The Curse of the Sixth Floor. Jessica and Sarah had left their quiet countryside homes, dreaming of a life full of new possibilities in the big city. They were young, ambitious, and full of hope, but their pockets were nearly empty, and their options painfully limited. After weeks of intense searching, they found an apartment in the old downtown area, a tall, aging building with cracked walls and peeling paint. The locals whispered mysterious stories about it, about tenants who left suddenly or never came back home. But desperate and excited, they signed the contract quickly, ignoring the old corridors that seemed to sigh constantly. Their apartment on the sixth floor smelled of dust and damp wood, the faded wallpaper slowly curling like a silent warning. On the first night, while carefully unpacking their belongings, they heard soft footsteps echoing slowly down the dark hallway. Jessica laughed nervously, saying it was just the old building settling on its own. Sarah, however, felt a deep shiver run down her spine, as if someone invisible was watching from the heavy shadows. That night, while they studied in the living room, the lights suddenly flickered and then went out completely, plunging the entire apartment into absolute darkness. Their cell phones gave off a faint glow, casting long, distorted shadows across the silent walls. A low creak came from the hallway, growing louder until it stopped abruptly without explanation. Jessica held the candle she had lit, its flame dancing violently as the air grew noticeably colder. The power finally returned, but the kitchen table had shifted slightly. Chairs moved, as if someone had just sat there. In the following days, the strange occurrences continued, small at first. Doors closing on their own, objects out of place, soft whispers in seemingly empty rooms. One night, Sarah filled the bathtub to relax completely, but when she came back, the water had mysteriously vanished. She checked the plug, confused, but the tub was bone dry with no puddles anywhere on the floor. Jessica tried to joke about it, but even she could feel the unease quickly settling in. Then came the truly terrifying day of the gas leak. They had decided to bake a banana pie together, laughing and chatting cheerfully as the sunlight streamed through the open window. Suddenly, the strong smell of gas filled the entire kitchen, thick and suffocating, burning their throats immediately. Jessica ran to the stove, trembling hands discovering the hose had burst, hissing violently. They barely managed to shut off the main valve in time, coughing, dizzy, shaken by what could have been their final mortal moments. In the days that followed, they often ran into Antonietta, the 85-year-old neighbor across the silent hallway. Her eyes were deeply piercing, and she always seemed to know far more than she ever said, silently watching like a guardian of all the building's secrets. One night in the elevator, she spoke unexpectedly. "You shouldn't stay here, girls. Not on this dangerous floor." Her voice trembled slightly, but carried authority, and her warning sank deeply into their young, frightened minds. A week later, they saw her sitting on a park bench, back straight, staring into absolute, silent nothingness. "Leave this building," she whispered softly. "Please, leave while you still can." The girls laughed nervously, trying to brush off her words, but the unease remained, a constant shadow hanging over them. Later that night, they tried cooking again, this time a simple dinner to soothe their worn-out nerves. Suddenly, the pressure cooker exploded, shattering metal and spraying food across the kitchen. The blast left them completely deafened, shaking, hearts pounding wildly in raw fear. They ran to Antonietta's apartment, demanding answers, their voices breaking from sheer terror and dread. The old woman opened the door slowly, her eyes clouded with sorrow and something darker, deeper. "This building drives people mad," she said, her voice soft, an echo of years of warnings and suffering. "I only wanted to spare you from what I went through." Jessica and Sarah froze, fear intensifying as reality twisted all around them. "But what about everything that happened? The lights, the bathtub, the gas, the explosion?" Sarah asked anxiously. Antonietta lowered her gaze, her frail hands resting on the worn-out door frame. "The building doesn't act on its own," she whispered. "It distorts the mind, makes you believe in things that aren't really there. It feeds on fear, growing with every lingering doubt." Back in the apartment, Jessica insisted everything was real, while Sarah began to doubt herself, wondering if the building was slowly driving them both insane. Their arguments grew more heated at night, accusations flying, trust wearing thin like the fragile, peeling wallpaper. Suddenly the lights went out again, and in the total darkness, Sarah felt a cold presence silently behind her. "Jessica, is that you?" she whispered, her trembling voice choked with fear. The lights returned with a violent flash, revealing Jessica pale, frozen, staring intently at the mirror. And in the reflection between them stood Antonietta, silent, unblinking, watching closely. Panic surged as they ran for the door, only to find it locked, impossible to open. Desperation left only one final choice: the wide, open window of the 6th floor. Together they leapt, glass shattering around them, screams lost to the wind as gravity claimed them swiftly. By morning, the police found their bodies below, broken and covered in shards of glass scattered across the ground. From the 6th floor window, the curtains swayed gently, as if waving goodbye to their latest victims. Inside the apartment, the cracked mirror remained, Antonietta's reflection waiting, patient and eternal, for the next tenants who dared step into the cursed, shadowed 6th floor.